you could just excuse me for 1 second. I'm going in. All better.
Gonna rock around the clock tonight.
Dear Lord, give me strength. Give me fucking strength. Hello, Whovians, and welcome to another Doctor Who rant. Although today it is going to be a major rant on Delta and the Bannerman. First of all, big shout out to Nicholas Payne. I know I keep mentioning him, but to be honest, he's doing me a great deal of service by lending me his DVDs. So, Nick, thank you very much. In return, I promised him shout-outs. So, I have to stand by my promises. I know who my friends are. Oh, Delta and the Bannerman. I mean, this season has trucked along and it's built to this. Like, literally the worst. Like, these three stories. These three stories. I've still got another one to go. The plot, if there is one, of Delta and the Bannerman is as follows. Boarding a nostalgic tour bus, the Doctor and Mel go for a holiday. They will soon learn that their fellow passenger, Delta, is a Chimeran queen fleeing from the Bannerman who wish to make her species extinct. Thus, the time traveller's trip to Shangri-La turns into a battle against genocide. Why? I don't even know where to start. Delta and the Bannerman fucking sucks! This story is awful! I hated this story so much. I actually hated it. Oh, I am actually losing my patience here. You know, there's a saying, 3 strikes and you're out. Well, they were fucking lucky because literally we had Time in the Rani, Paradise Towers, both were terrible. And now we have this, which is also terrible. So, to me, 3 strikes and you're out. Although, thankfully, there's one more story left in this season to try and do something. But Delta and the Bannerman sucks. Oh, I hate this story. I actually hate it. For one thing, I didn't really understand the plot anyway. And I just did not care for these characters. There's so many things in here that don't make sense. For one thing, there's these 2 random American guys, which are in the story, and they don't do anything. They come out of nowhere. They have no place in the story. And the whole thing about it being in Shangri-La, please don't be misled by that, because the story is actually set in Wales. In Wales. The holiday site is called Shangri-La. Lord knows why, because it's the most run-down holiday site you could ever see. It looks so cheap and tatty. Literally, it's like the producers and J&T, they just thought, well, we'll choose any old holiday site. It doesn't really matter how it looks. It's just like, you can clearly see they are putting no effort into this whatsoever. And it disgusts me. It actually disgusts me to see the levels they have stooped to with this story. It is just offensively bad. For one thing, I have to get this off my chest. The music. The music is fucking terrible in this story. It is awful. It's just load of noise. It drains out what's going on. You find it hard to really invest in what's going on anyway, but the soundtrack doesn't help. The soundtrack on top of it just makes you wonder why. Like, why are they doing this? And it doesn't create any tension for the story. It's just so camp. It's just so over the top. It doesn't feel like it's a soundtrack that belongs with Doctor Who. And as well as the soundtrack, we have a load of 50s songs. Like, there's a moment where they're on a bus. Well, the Doctor doesn't go on the bus, but Mel does. And they're about to go on their journey. And it's a bus that goes through time or whatever into other planets. And then they start singing. We're going, rock, Around the clock tonight, we're gonna rock, rock, rock till broad daylight. It's just like, what does this have to do with anything? Like, what? Honestly, Delta and the Bannerman could potentially be the cheesiest, the campiest, the corniest Doctor Who story yet. It is that fucking bad. For one thing as well, the villains are terrible. Gavrock, played by Don Henderson, he's a decent actor, but the character is just so bland. He's just this generic muscle man who's this soldier, and he doesn't really have much dimension to his character. He's just this big thug. He's just this meathead, and I mean that literally, because he actually does eat a massive leg of meat at one point, just so we can see how violent he is and how ravenous he is. But it's all play for camp laughs. Once again, they fail to establish a consistent tone. They don't know whether they want to be campy or whether they want to be serious. Just fucking choose one, because you can't mesh both together. I'm sorry, you just can't. And I'm sick and tired of these tonal inconsistencies. JNT just doesn't give a shit anymore. He's not even trying to rectify, the mistakes of the Colin Baker era. And I know Colin Baker's era has its fans, each to their own. When it came back from its hiatus with Colin Baker's second and final season, they had a chance. They had a chance to rectify this. And that didn't work, so then it's like, okay, well, we'll give you a chance with a new actor. So we got Sylvester McCoy, and he's fine. Sylvester McCoy is actually good in this story. I quite like his performance. He's playing it safe. He's still pretty good as the Doctor in this story, and I do appreciate what he's trying to do. But the story surrounding him is an absolute mess. It really is. JNT clearly doesn't want to be running this show anymore. He clearly is waiting for it to run into the ground. He's waiting for the show, waiting for them to give up on it. I'm sorry if that sounds harsh. Maybe that is going a bit far, but I'm sure JNT has his heart in the right place. I'll rectify that. I'm sure he has his heart in the right place, but his enthusiasm is not there. That's, I think, the correct phrase. His enthusiasm towards this show is not there. Bonnie Langford as Mel. Once again, Mel is just such a bad character. It's not like she's unlikable or anything, but it's just she's a screamer. She just screams all the time, and I'm sick and tired of her scream. It's not quite as bad as it is in the first two stories of the season, or indeed Terror of the Vervoids. But Mel, she's just such a boring character. She's got no personality. There's no dimension to her character either. I'm not surprised that Bonnie Langford left after this season, because they weren't going to make an effort to improve her character. I just don't really think her and Sylvester McCoy have a really good dynamic, to be honest. I mean, she didn't really have a dynamic with Colin Baker anyway, because Colin Baker was leaving. Well, little did he know. There's a lot of supporting characters, and to be honest, none of them are really that good. I suppose the best one is probably Sarah Griffiths as Ray. She's this Welsh biker girl, and she's okay, although she doesn't seem to really have much integrity to the story. She's sort of there in the beginning, then they just sort of forget about her for a bit, and then she reappears at the end. She's a decent actress, but the part is just nothing. Like, she just plays a nothing role. It's nice to have a Welsh girl in Doctor Who. We haven't had many Welsh people in Doctor Who, but at the same time, there's no reason for her to be there. Like, there's no reason for her to be there whatsoever. Then we've got Delta, played by Belinda Main, and she's not very good. She's very wooden as well. And I don't understand how her child manages to grow so quickly. They never explain it. And how comes the child never talks if it grows that quickly? It didn't make sense to me. One of the most embarrassing moments in this story, I kid you not, is when we see the baby. The baby dressed in a green suit with green makeup on his face. That is honestly just ridiculous. That is insulting. It is just awful. It is just so cheap. It's not nice for the baby as well. I'm just thinking to myself, what have they done? They don't know what the hell they're doing. They thought that was convincing? I'm sorry, but that is just terrible. That is just a disgrace. They also try and establish this stupid romance with Delta and a character called Billy, who's a guy who sings in a pub or something. And there's no explanation as to how they fall in love. He just sees her in his club when he's singing or whatever, and then he falls in love with her, and then he decides to become one of her race at the end, to be with her. Like, there's no chemistry between the actors, and there's no development of this love story. We don't really get the sense that she loves him. We spend a lot of time with them, but they just talk about random shit. There's no depth to this story whatsoever. It's a confusing mess. And like I said, the look of it is just terrible. Although I do like the location stuff. That's nice to be out in the countryside. But at the same time, it's just like they're in this rundown holiday camp, and it just really looks tacky. It really looks tacky, and that's reflective of the show at the time. I understand they're working with a very small budget, but at the same time, you can do a lot with a small budget and put effort into it. But no, they just choose to cop out, take the easy way. Ken Dodd also appears in this story. Ken Dodd as the Tollmaster. Oh my god. In the early moments of the story, he wears this purple starry outfit, and he's there for comic relief and camp laughs, and it is almost embarrassing. It is embarrassing to see that. It really is. And the Bannermen themselves, they're just like generic soldiers from the future. They're not interesting at all. They don't really have great costumes. They don't have great designs. They're not really that interesting. I'm sorry, they're just boring. Also, Richard Davies plays Mr. Burton. He's the owner of the holiday camp, and yeah, he's not very good either. He's a Welshman. It's again nice to have a Welshman in the story, but to be honest, it's just a waste of time. This is just a terrible, terrible story. It's only 3 parts long, and it really drags. It just really drags on, and it just doesn't go anywhere for me. It really doesn't. And the only thing I can praise about it is Sylvester McCoy. It really is. The scene when the bus is attacked is also very cheap and silly and stupid as well. You can just tell how dated the effects are by this point. So why... I mean, the fact that the Doctor doesn't go on the bus with them is only just a plot device so that he can save them as well. It's just pointless. Why would he just leave Mel on the bus and say, like, oh, I'll follow you in the TARDIS, all right? It's directed by Chris Clow, and, well, I say directed, it's not really directed. It all just sort of falls apart, to be honest, and it really fails to entice me. It is just so embarrassingly corny and cheap and silly. Every 2 minutes there's a stupid pop song, and there's a stupid soundtrack, and even when they're trying to create tension with these chase scenes or whatever, there's quite a bit of action in the story, but at the same time, it's just boring. Like because you're not invested in any of these characters. There's too many of them. There's not a consistent story. It's a confusing mess, and my goodness me, it's just embarrassing. I don't think it's as bad as everyone says it is, but I just think it's really badly made. Would I call it the worst of Classic Who? I wouldn't go that far, but it is down there. It really is bad, and it's written by Malcolm Cole, and, well, I'm sorry, but he needed to write a better script than this. Oh, I forgot to mention... the soldiers at the beginning, the green soldiers, why are they all painted green? Like, it just, what are we, back in the power of Kroll now? And I know that this film came out years after this, but Toy Story, it looks like the toy soldiers from Toy Story. I know Toy Story was released in 1995, but even so, it just looks embarrassing. And any moment where someone dies or anything, you just laugh because you just can't take it seriously anymore. So that's all I'm going to say about Delta and the Bannerman. I am going to finish up, and I'm going to score this story 0.000000001 out of 10. Yeah, sorry to be completely negative recently, but these 3 stories of Sylvester's era have not impressed me. They really haven't. And yeah, next time we move on to the 4th and final story of this season, which is Dragonfire. Thank God the season is nearly over. God, it's been painful so far. Dragonfire. Please stay tuned for that review. And of course, I'll do a mini ranking of the stories at the end. Not that it will matter too much anyway, given the quality of these stories. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. Please comment down below. Let me know what you think. And stay tuned next time when I review Dragonfire. So until then, I'm Mr. TARDIS11. See you soon. Bye for now.